I've had so many people come up to me in meet and greets or reach out to me on the internet, send me notes, letters in the mail about their experiences. And they've almost all said something very different but very similar at the same time. And something that always sticks out is they're like, thank you for sharing your voice, because your voice let me know that it was okay to have a voice too. And what's the most sad thing is, when did we tell people it's not okay to have a voice?
I'm Blair St. Clair. I'm 22 years old from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Evan Ross Katz. I'm senior style editor at Mike. I do declare because I am joined by Ms. Blair St. Clair. Blair, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
So I want to talk about life before Drag Race.
Okay.
What was it like growing up in Indianapolis? And what was the sort of climate in which LGBTQ people like yourself existed?
Growing up in Indianapolis was interesting because Indianapolis is, by size, a very large city, but it has such a small town feel to it. When you think of a movie that has, that small town kid vibe, that's definitely how I felt growing up there. I didn't feel like it was like a place that I could really open up and really be myself all the time.
Even in your early years, even in middle school and high school, were there other people that you looked to?
I never knew that gay was something that was possible, that two men, two women could like one another, probably until middle school. I didn't really know that that was even existed in the world.
Wow.
And thinking today to see how many inspiring LGBT activists there are that are inspiring so many people of all ages is incredible, because I never had that.
Did you find like people treated you differently as Blair St. Clair?
They treat Blair with more respect. They treat Blair with more grace and more of a professional. And I think it's because I'm creating an illusion that I can look however I want. And for some reason, I'm the same person, but I'm treated completely differently with what I'm wearing.
Right.
And I've never really been able to understand why the dots are connected, but I've recognized when they're there and when they're not.
What was that relationship like with your mother in terms of addressing both your sexuality and your desire to perform as a drag queen?
Coming out of the closet, first and foremost, is terrifying. It's scary. You have no idea what your parents are going to say, what they're going to think. And if you do think, maybe they're going to act completely differently. You never know. I had such a fear of, if I were to lose the love and affection of my parents coming out of the closet, who do I have left? My parents actually came to me and asked me if I was gay. And it wasn't more of like me approaching them and coming out. It just kind of came in conversation. It was, how are you? How are your grades? How's school going? Do you like boys? And I was immediately kind of gagged. I was like, they have to be going through my diary or something. Like, something happened. Like, how do they know these things about me? And I told them, I was like, yeah, I think I'm gay. I think. And my mom took it really hard. She was so supportive of me and loved me and didn't care if I was blue, green, yellow, gay, bi, straight, anything. She literally just wanted to love me as me and her son. But I knew that she knew my life was probably and most likely going to be a little bit more difficult, a little bit harder, and I'd have more problems with being a young gay man in the world that we live in today. I know that my mom and I both definitely separated for quite a while in just connection. We lost a lot of contact, we lost a lot of connection. I lived with my parents till I was in high school, but it wasn't the same upbringing and the same amount of love that I felt, because I just felt so apart, so alone. And I know that she was just reverting and taking her attention away from me because she didn't want to put that on me. She didn't want to put her own problems and baggage and frustration onto me.
So how did you two go about reconnecting?
I think we just kind of both found a place where our heart was we just need each other. And it was no, I'm sorry. It was no, I miss you. It was no, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a while. Things feel weird. It was just, they picked up where they left off randomly one day. And I felt an instant click whenever that happened of, you're my son. I don't care what you are, who you are, because I love you, and I also don't care what the world thinks of you.
So when did your mom and your family first meet Blair?
But my parents saw me in drag because I asked to leave the house to go to a RuPaul's Drag Race Battle of the Season tour with my friend who bought us tickets for my birthday in drag. And they were like, sure. And I think that they thought that it was more of a theater production, kind of like a Rocky Horror type setup, and they're like, oh, sure, do it. And then I was like, I'm going to do drag for Halloween, and then I'm going to do it for this, and then I'm going to do it for this, and then I'm going to do it for this. And then, hey, homecoming's around the corner. I really want to do one of our homecoming themes for Dress Up Spirit Week in drag. And all of a sudden my drag persona was kind of like, it was born underneath their feet, and they never even knew it. It was never like, hey, I'm a drag queen now. I've been doing it for 6 months. You know, I really hope you like it, and come and see my show on Saturday night. It was more like, oh, I guess you're a drag queen now because you wear makeup a lot and you practice a lot in the house. You could be a makeup artist, but you also perform, but you're happy. And my parents didn't really question that.
What was that moment like when you found out that you would be joining the cast for season 10?
That is so funny. I was at an amusement park the day that I got my phone call, and my phone was broken on a water ride. So I never got a phone call. And I was like wondering if I was going to get this phone call or not. And then I sent a message to the production while being in the process of the auditions and saying, hey, like, I don't know if I will be receiving any kind of contacts from you, but my phone isn't working currently. I'm getting a new one tomorrow. I'm just on my way home today. I'm traveling, and just wanted to update you guys if you need to get in contact with me. I just felt something. It was so weird to explain because I felt like something good was coming. Felt like it was happening. And they were like, please, here's a number. Please call at your soonest convenience. So I went to a payphone. They still have them. And I went to a payphone, typed in the number, and I called, and they told me that I was cast on Drag Race. So I got my hey, you're on Drag Race at a payphone. Wow. So bizarre, so weird.
So shortly thereafter, you finally go and film the show.
Yes.
And then there is, I believe it's like, I don't know if you can say, but like 8 or 9 months. During that time, there was a TMZ story that came out that made a lot of news that people were talking about. You had been arrested for a DUI. I'm curious if you could open up as to what really happened and what that was like having a part of you exposed publicly before people even got to know you on the show.
Going through all of this with TMZ was really frustrating. In March of 2017, I was arrested for drinking and driving, and even after that, I didn't think that I had a problem with drinking. I was like, I made a mistake. I got into a car after a show that I had drank probably a little too much more than I should have, over the legal limit, but I was still driving home because at that point in time, I thought that was okay. And I was 21. Now being much older, more educated, more knowledgeable, I recognize how many faults I had in that, with putting other people's lives at jeopardy, with taking risk of my own life, and breaking the law. That happened in March, and when that happens, you are charged with a crime. You're not convicted of anything. There were a lot of false accusations made about me with my record and with how I handled things. And I handled everything to my best ability with the people that were involved with my legal cases. And what was really hard for me was getting back from filming and seeing these articles posted, seeing these accusations made, and then seeing all of my friends repost the article. Because whether they were supporting me or telling anything, they were still reblogging, retweeting, reposting, sharing the article. The link kept surfacing. More and more people saw it because of that. Whether they were saying, hey, don't believe this isn't true, it just kept coming. And I couldn't say a single thing because we filmed RuPaul's Drag Race many, many months before it ever aired on television, before I could even legally say that I was on the television show.
Right.
And I had to be completely silent.
What kind of pressure did that put on you in terms of having this be people's first entry point to you, having not seen the show at that point?
And it was really hard seeing people like repost that stuff and like talking about it and then creating comments about it and then commenting on it and then seeing my mugshot go viral. Because that was a mistake I made a long time ago that I was dealing with both legally, both morally and ethically. And they were creating these ideas based on me and about me on an article that they thought was true, that they thought was a reflection of my character, which is the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah. And on TMZ of all sites.
Of all places.
Like, not exactly the paper of record.
I was very flattered that they thought I was a celebrity enough to post the article. Thank you. Thank you, TMZ. Because TMZ is the reason, in the wake-up call I needed, to see a mugshot of mine spread like wildfire across the media, like across websites, news channels, radio, so many different social outlets, for me to be like, oh, that's crazy, they're talking about me and this is awful and this really, really hurts. But also maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe I have a drinking problem. Because this is something that can now get in the way of my career. Maybe not that I made a mistake, but it's a problem.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing that opened the door for me for that.
Let's talk about your sobriety. I think that there's a normalization of drinking that can take place in club culture in general. What was it like having to recognize that you had that problem, but then also return to these spaces and perform in them as a sober person?
I think only people that have become sober really understand what it's like to know what it's like to be in a bar when you're an alcoholic and then leave that bar for quite some time, not come back and step into a bar, and then the first time you step into a bar with your newfound sobriety. That's not easy. That's really hard because you're in this world, these gay clubs that we go to, it's all about the first thing you want to do when you walk in is get a drink. Hey guys, let's get a drink. Hey, you did something well. Can I buy you a shot? We celebrate by drinking when we're happy, we're mad, we're sad, any emotion we feel. I had to remember after Drag Race and after I started making these changes for me that these changes were made for me. They were made to protect me, but they were also made to protect my career at the end of the day. Blair St. Clair before Drag Race and who I am as an entertainer was a hobby. And it was something that I made money on, but now it's a full business. And when I go to perform at a show, whether there's alcohol there or not, to me, I have to choose my mindset of, it doesn't matter if there's alcohol here. What matters is I came to do a job. I'm going to fulfill that job. I'm going to enjoy the job, have fun, but you can't think about the other things. I needed to really tell my brain that for quite a long time. So now when I go to clubs, I don't even think about it as much anymore.
Do you think that this epidemic of drinking is exacerbated in gay clubs versus straight clubs?
It's completely exacerbated. You see drinking in gay clubs and in gay culture so much more than you do in other cultures to its extreme. It's binge drinking to an extent. It's going completely crazy. And I don't know exactly why that is. I think one really big factor that a lot of people think is because they say that, as gay individuals, we've had coming out stories and we've had a lot of turmoil that we've overcome in our life. We've had a lot of things that we've dealt with. And a lot of people do turn to drinking in times of feeling emotion while they're seeking to feel emotion. And they've lacked a lot of that.
What has sobriety taught you?
What has sobriety not taught me? Sobriety has taught me a different way to look at my life. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. And I'm still growing. I'm not grown up. But it allows me to take a pause and to step back and to reflect and look at my life and look at my choices and recognize that I am in control of my life today. And I finally decided to look at my life as a means for loving myself. Because I didn't recognize and I didn't know and I didn't understand for such a long time that I was not in a place of loving myself for so many things that have transpired in my life. But it's allowed me to gain a little perspective of, hey, I have a long journey to continue going of loving myself, but I can start by doing a few things today to get to where I want to be in life.
What was your first step, and what advice can you offer people in terms of taking that first step?
It really comes down to acceptance. And that is a much larger word than it actually sounds like. It's, okay, cool, sure, I have a problem. But are you being honest with yourself that you have a problem? Or are you telling yourself that you have a problem because that's what you want people to hear? Do you, at the end of the day, look at yourself and truly know that you have a problem, but it's not just a problem? Do you also desire to seek change? Because if you have a problem, I can tell everyone in the world I have a problem. And I can tell you every day of my life I have a problem, and I can still pick up a bottle of alcohol. I can tell everyone every day I have a problem with shopping, and I'm still going to pick up the credit card. But until you say, I need to put down the credit card, I need to cut it in half, I need help, I need someone to tell me I can't do this, or I'm seeking to change my life because I desire this. When my suffering had finally become enough suffering that I needed change, and I needed to find a difference in my life, that's when things really start to click.
Later in the episode, both in Untucked and On the Runway, you revealed your experiences with sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if anything regarding that hovering in your mind had to do with perhaps stepping out of the competition.
It's something that wasn't weighing on me at all. It was something that I've really put into the back of my mind and almost have tried to distort that it never happened to me. I think, as human beings, when pain comes our way, we experience it in a cycle of emotions, but we really try to revert into not experience because those emotions aren't pleasant. They're not fun. It's not a fun cycle. You don't wake up and say, hey, I want to be upset and sad and depressed and lonely and angry and tired today. You say, I want to be happy. But that's normal human behavior. So we push those things in the back of our mind and we revert to not feeling those feelings and not feeling those things. And I think I was feeling vulnerable for the first time filming the show, and that's what really started making me feel emotions. And I really took Ross Matthews' critique to heart of when he was talking about not understanding me. And I was like, you don't understand me. And today I realized because I don't understand me. I didn't at that point. I didn't understand myself. But I didn't understand myself because I had so many emotions that I hadn't yet felt. And about a completely different experience in my life with sexual assault. But those things inevitably were still working without me knowing that they were working on my brain, and they were making me take choices in life, find things that I enjoyed, find things that I liked. Oh, I'm going to like pretty or softer things, more delicate, more dainty things. My mind was drawn to things to create continue creating my drag character. And that inevitably landed to that moment of a huge word vomit.
You did not go in there planning to reveal this on the show.
No.
Something started to stir in you in that moment, and it felt like it had to come out. Can you describe that feeling?
I had never talked to another human being in my entire life about that. Not once. My mom and I are incredibly close. My dad and I have a close relationship. I have a close relationship to a lot of people on before filming the show. I had never opened up and talked about that. And it's because it was something that I didn't want to believe. I think in the moment, my heart wanted to defend itself and defend what I was feeling. But my mind couldn't put the thoughts together, and it just kind of expelled.
Did it feel like a cathartic moment?
It felt cathartic that I was speaking about it, but I wasn't processing yet. I wasn't allowing myself to feel it. I was allowing myself to understand and to think it, but I didn't internalize the emotion yet. And I didn't even do that until, months after Drag Race even stopped filming.
In that moment, were you thinking about the idea that what you said, what you were saying, was not going to be contained to that room, that your parents were going to be seeing this, that friends of yours, past lovers?
I was only on a stage in my thoughts by myself. That's all I could think of, all I could focus on. It wasn't until hours after the elimination even occurred that producers were asking me, hey, how are you doing? Are you processing okay? And, you opened up about something that was really big, and we want to just make sure that you're okay, and do you need to talk to someone? And I was like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I'm feeling. I think I'm okay for time being, but you quickly forget that with the cameras around you, that the moment in time is being captured and then will show again months later. It just feels like you're in time. You're in the now. You forget that even though they are around you, it's still being captured. And so I didn't think of anyone hearing about me. That never crossed my mind. I never thought that my personal life would ever be open to anyone else. I just felt like I was being truthful to myself in that moment, at that time, no matter where I was. And I'm so thankful to the production team. I'm so thankful to the producers and for being very involved with the situation. Because even while editing process was happening for Drag Race, I received phone calls of, hey, we're working on the episode, talking about your story. How are you processing today? How are you right now? And you recognize that this is going to open up a lot on national television. And I hadn't really thought about that until that time. And I was really in contact with production and talking about, it was something that I did say. Even though I thought it was in the moment, I forgot, that would be broadcast all over. But the big thing is that it is now my responsibility with the platform of Drag Race and with the voice that I've gained to be heard. That's what it was meant for. It had been said and it needed to stay.
I don't want to take you back to that moment, but I'm curious at the time, did you recognize what had happened as some kind of invasion of your sexual self?
I think part of my problems and a lot of problem for me with my specific experience is that I placed a lot of blame and guilt in myself because I didn't know how to truly understand what had happened. And self-guilt is much heavier than you may ever anticipate. And if you are confused and you put guilt on yourself for something that wasn't your fault, that can become very confusing. It can become very hard to process. And I didn't really understand for a long time of what really happened until I did try and really kind of bring that back up again in my life. And I continued to mature as a human being, but that part of me and my sexuality and my sexual mind was completely at a standstill.
What compelled you to stay silent?
It's fearful admitting to the world, to yourself even, which is the most scary thing, that someone hurt you, that you've been hurt, that you are open and vulnerable. I felt like less of a man, of a gay man, and I felt that there was something wrong with me for such a long time because I didn't feel the need to be an over-sexualized gay man in an over-sexualized community that we live in. And I felt very odd. I felt very out of place. And I felt very resentful toward people that were.
Do you think that this conversation within the LGBTQ community needs to become more of a dialogue in terms of addressing sexual assault specifically within our community and how those lines of consent get drawn?
Well, first and foremost, sexual assault can happen in any community to anyone at any point in time. I think it's important to remember that. Do I think that it's something that is unfortunately happening more often than we may know in our community? Yes, I think so, and it's very important to become knowledgeable about it and speak out, but to speak out about a problem or something that's happened to you does not equal self-understanding, and it does not make the problem go away. Just because I stand up and tell you today that I've experienced trauma in my life, that does not mean that I'm okay tomorrow. It means I've accepted it and I'm taking the first step in finally gaining healing. It means that I am officially and finally ready to take control of that aspect of my life and recognize that I have control of myself today. I might not have had control of that situation, I might not have control of what happened to me in the time, but I can't live there anymore. I live in today. And you can be really loud and make yourself known and share that. But sharing it is just going to bring more awareness to an issue. It's not going to fix anything or change anything. That change really comes with each individual, with not tolerating hate. And unfortunately, something that's hard to do is if that does happen to you, to talk as soon as possible. And hopefully we can dwindle down the occurrences.
How do you think we chip away at the stigma of those who experience this in feeling the need to stay silent?
There was a fan in an audience that asked a really, really profound question that said, "I'm so sorry this happened to you. What can we do?" The only thing we can really do as individuals, and what we're all seeking and we're all wanting to attain, is love and acceptance and to feel special. And that all is derived from love. And it all comes from practicing whatever you can do within yourself to gain a higher self-esteem, to have more self-worth, and practice that self-love. Because once you attain a better version of yourself, then you're able to develop better relationships with other people because you'll be stronger in yourself. Slowly but surely, the world will become slightly happier, a little bit safer, a little bit kinder, a little bit more loving, a little bit more of a place that we want to be in.
Yeah.
Because right now, we don't want to be in this world a lot of the time. We want to revert, and we want to hide, and we want to keep those things inside. And that's why we want to stay silent.
What do you feel when people come to you with these stories?
It's really beautiful seeing all of the love and support that I've received for everything that happened. Because such a negative, painful experience that happened to me in my life has somehow been given back to me in a lot of love. And instead of me dwelling on how much pain I've experienced in my life, I'm trying to find more perspective today. And I'm trying to see that all that's been given back to me by everyone else is that they want to love me. They want to support me. The only person who doesn't want to love me today is myself when I get into those negative mindsets. And talking about this right now, it's kind of eye-opening because you don't recognize what you're doing until you start reflecting and thinking about that, and you don't understand like how your mind is processing until you kind of talk about it. And I've had so many people come up to me in meet and greets or reach out to me on the internet, send me notes, letters in the mail about their experiences. And they've almost all said something very different but very similar at the same time. And something that always sticks out is they're like, thank you for sharing your voice, because your voice let me know that it was okay to have a voice too. And what's the most sad thing is, when did we tell people it's not okay to have a voice? When in my life did someone tell me that you are not important and your life doesn't matter?
I want to end by asking about what's next. Mm-hmm. You have, as you mentioned, this platform. Mm-hmm. It's gigantic. Mm-hmm. It's evidenced today by the line that did not stop at your booth. And no shade, but not every queen gets that long of a line. And it wasn't just people wanting to take selfies. It was people wanting to stop, look you in the eye, have a real moment with you. What are you going to do with this platform?
There's not an exact answer of I want to do X, Y, and Z, and that formula will equal perfect career, perfect life, and it'll be all happiness. I'm focusing on so many things that bring me joy today. I'm focusing on balancing my life today. I'm focusing on finding things that keep me honest. And I just really want to talk and speak to more people and reach more people. And that's what I'm really using music for right now. So I can't tell you, what maybe 2 years from now I'll be doing, but I just want to continue to reach people. And so I just released a single on iTunes and Spotify, and it's called Now or Never. And we wrote this song knowing that my elimination...
Chart topping.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Chart topping.
I've come undone, but now I've pulled myself together, and I'm breaking free to fly, because it's now or never.
We wrote this single knowing that my elimination episode was coming up. We would love to release something maybe empowering around it. And I sat down with a songwriter, and these lyrics just came. They just developed on a paper so quickly, so effortlessly, and the song has so much passion behind it. And I recognized, I was like, you know what? I can write music like this because it's connected to so many people. And whether they connect to me or my story, people can connect to subject matter. So, you can expect a lot of music from me. You can expect to see me in a city near you sometime soon. And you can expect me to have a real, genuine conversation with you, because that's my job today, spreading a little bit of extra love.
Blair, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. There's been over 100 queens on the show, but there has never been a queen like you. It's just vital that we have people like you, and I'm so thankful on behalf of our community. And thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to sit and, talk and just kind of explain a little bit about why I am that I am and who that I am and what I want to do.
Well, we're glad that you are who you are. Thank you so much, Blair.
Thank you.